Have you ever felt as though life keeps taking from you, leaving you with nothing left to give? There are moments when hope seems like a distant memory, when the future feels heavy and uncertain. An older friend once shared with me a simple wish. I just wish someone could give me a reason to believe that tomorrow will be better than today. That sentiment lingers, echoing in the hearts of all who have faced hardship. It reminds me of the 1930s, a time in America when hope was not just rare, it was nearly extinct. The Great Depression had gripped the nation, and the world seemed to shrink beneath the weight of despair. Breadlines stretched for blocks, filled with men, women, and children whose only certainty was hunger. Families huddled in cramped apartments, patching their lives together with whatever scraps they could find. The air was thick with worry, as if the very sky had darkened with sorrow. In the midst of this turmoil, we meet Margaret, a woman whose life, not long ago, had shimmered with promise. She had a loving family, a sturdy home, and dreams that reached beyond the horizon. But the crash of the stock market was more than numbers on a page. It was the collapse of everything she held dear. Her husband's job vanished overnight, their savings dried up, and each day became a struggle for survival. Food grew scarce, bills piled up, and the laughter that once filled their home faded into silence. Margaret's mornings began before sunrise, her hands rough and weary from endless work. She stood in bread lines, clutching ration cards, praying that there would be enough to bring home. Her children watched with wide eyes, sensing the tension, but not understanding its source. Margaret tried to shield them from the worst of it, telling bedtime stories filled with magic and hope. Even as her own heart ached with uncertainty, she felt isolated, burdened by the responsibility of keeping her family afloat when the world itself seemed to be sinking. One bitterly cold morning, as Margaret waited in line outside the local church's soup kitchen, she noticed a woman ahead of her. Her name was Anna. Unlike most who shuffled with downcast eyes, Anna stood tall, her gaze steady and warm. She wore a faded coat, patched at the elbows, and her hands trembled from the cold. Yet when Margaret offered a tentative smile, Anna returned it with gentle sincerity. As the line crept forward, Anna turned to Margaret and said, "Today will be a good day." The words hung in the frosty air, simple yet powerful. Margaret blinked, surprised by the optimism. How could anyone say that here, of all places? The world was falling apart, and hope felt almost foolish. Margaret's voice was quiet as she replied, "How can you be so sure?" Anna's answer was unwavering. "Because I choose to believe it, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." Those words echoed in Margaret's mind for days. At first, she was skeptical. Optimism felt naive, almost reckless, in the face of relentless hardship. But something in Anna's demeanor was different, a kind of resilience that seemed to defy the circumstances. Margaret began to wonder if hope, even if fragile, might be a choice rather than a luxury. From a psychological perspective, this is known as cognitive reframing. It's the process of consciously changing the way we interpret events, shifting our focus from what is lost to what remains. It doesn't erase pain or magically solve problems, but it does offer a new lens, a way to find meaning, even in suffering. Anna's simple phrase, "Today will be a good day," was more than a mantra. It was a deliberate act of reframing, an invitation to see possibility where others saw only despair. Margaret decided to try it for herself. The next morning, as she prepared a meager breakfast for her children, she whispered Anna's words, "Today will be a good day." At first, it felt hollow. The problems didn't disappear, but Margaret noticed something subtle, a shift in the way she moved through the day. She smiled at her neighbors, shared a laugh with her children, and found herself searching for moments of kindness. One afternoon, as she waited in line once again, Margaret saw a young boy shivering beside his mother. Their shoes were thin and worn, barely holding together. Without hesitation, Margaret reached into her bag and pulled out a small piece of bread, her own ration, meant for her family's supper. She handed it to the boy, her heart pounding with uncertainty. The mother's eyes filled with tears, and she nodded in gratitude. That simple exchange sparked a ripple. Others in the line began to share what little they could, an apple, a scarf, a word of encouragement. The atmosphere shifted from silent suffering to quiet solidarity. Margaret's actions did not solve every problem. Her family still struggled, and the world remained harsh. But a new sense of connection emerged, a community built not on abundance, but on compassion. The breadline became a place where people looked out for one another, where small acts of kindness multiplied, creating warmth in the coldest days. This is the power of community, the strength that comes from standing together in adversity. When individuals share what little they have, they create networks of support that are greater than the sum of their parts. In times of crisis, it is not wealth or resources that sustain us, but empathy and shared purpose. Margaret's journey illustrates the profound impact of collective resilience, the way that moral courage can transform isolation into belonging. Ethics and kindness are not luxuries reserved for easy times. They are most essential when life is hardest. The decision to give, to connect, to hope, is an act of defiance against despair. When Margaret chose to share her bread, she was not only helping another family, she was affirming her own humanity. In the darkness, kindness became a beacon, guiding her and those around her towards something better. Resilience, too, is more than endurance. It is the ability to adapt, to find meaning in struggle, and to emerge stronger from adversity. Margaret's story is a testament to the idea that hope is not the absence of pain, but the determination to move forward, even when the future is uncertain. Anna's mantra, "Today will be a good day," became a catalyst for this transformation. It did not guarantee that every day would be easy, but it offered a way to approach each day with intention and courage. As we reflect on the lessons of the 1930s, it's important to consider how they apply to our lives today. The world is different now. Technology connects us, opportunities abound, yet challenges remain. Economic uncertainty, personal loss, and moments of hopelessness are still part of the human experience. The specifics may have changed, but the underlying need for hope and community is as vital as ever. In times of difficulty, we can choose to see ourselves as isolated, or we can reach out and build connections. The smallest act of kindness, a word, a gesture, a piece of bread, can transform not only another person's day, but our own sense of purpose. Cognitive reframing is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing which aspects of reality to focus on. When we choose hope, we are not denying the hardship. We are committing to finding light within it. Margaret and Anna's story is a reminder that even in the darkest times, we have the power to shape our experience. We may not control the circumstances, but we can choose our responses. We can look for opportunities to help, to connect, to uplift. When we whisper to ourselves, "Today will be a good day," we are planting a seed, one that can grow into resilience, compassion, and hope. Consider your own life. Perhaps you're facing a challenge that feels insurmountable, a job loss, a strained relationship, a sense of isolation. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to believe that nothing will ever change. But remember Margaret, standing in the breadline, uncertain and afraid. Her choice to hope, to share, to connect, did not erase her problems, but it transformed her experience. She became part of a community, found meaning in giving, and rediscovered her own strength. If you feel inspired by their story, you might choose to share it with someone who needs a reminder that hope is possible. Sometimes a single message, a text, a call, a smile, can be enough to change the direction of a day. We may never know the full impact of our kindness, but we can be certain that it matters. At MindCresta, we believe in exploring stories of ethics, resilience, and hope, because these are the foundations of a meaningful life. Our journey together is about more than overcoming hardship. It's about discovering the light that exists within each of us, even when the world feels dark. The lessons of the past are not relics. They are guides, pointing us toward a future built on compassion and courage. We invite you to reflect on your own experiences. What moments have shaped your hope? How have you found strength in adversity or offered kindness when it was needed most? Your story is valuable, and sharing it can inspire others. When we come together, we create a tapestry of resilience, a community where every thread matters. If Margaret and Anna's journey has touched you, Consider passing that inspiration forward. Share their story with a friend, a loved one, or someone who may be struggling. Let them know that even in the hardest times, hope is a choice, and kindness is a gift we all can give. And as you move through your own challenges, remember to whisper those words, "Today will be a good day." It may not solve every problem, but it can be the beginning of a new perspective, a way to find meaning, connection, and light, even when the path is uncertain. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of hope and resilience. Your presence is a reminder that together, we can face whatever comes our way. The journey is not always easy, but it is always worth taking, especially when we travel it with compassion and courage. Let's continue to seek out the stories that inspire us, to support one another, and to build a future where kindness is the guiding light. As you go forward, may you find strength in your community, wisdom in your experiences, and hope in every new day. And remember, even in the darkest moments, compassion is the light that leads us home.